Hello golfing fans, welcome back to the channel, proudly sponsored by betting.co.uk. So we have DP World Tour action for this week's episode as the Betfred British Masters returns once again at the Brabazon Golf Course over at the Belfry. Now this is one of the signature events on the DP World Tour and probably my favourite outside of the majors in the season. So I'm really looking forward to this event. And it takes place at a course that I've had some success at myself. So I know it like the back of my hand. And I am hoping that we can have a nice, good week from the selections. Before I go on to my best bets of the week, though, just a reminder, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I really do appreciate you tuning in. And just a little bit of a background about myself. I'm an ex-tour professional. And I'm now putting my previous playing experience to good use, trying to find you the players that are best suited to the course every single week on tour. Also, again, if you are new to my channel, if you wouldn't mind subscribing by clicking the button below this video, it's completely free to do so. It just helps me out and gets my content to a much wider audience. Also, with Betfred being the sponsors for this week, I do have a sign-up offer for you where if you bet £10, you can get £50 in free bets as a new customer using the link in the description below. And also, if you'd like to come over and join my sports community full of horse racing and golf as well, you are welcome to come over and join using another link that's in the description below. Right, let's get straight on to the action though. First of all, we'll take a look at the golf course. It's 7,336 yards long with just the 3 par 5s. But it's a very difficult course, this one. There's not actually too much trouble the entirety of the way round this course. But you do need to be finding the greens because up and downs around here can actually be pretty tough if you're finding the wrong spots. I'm not putting too much emphasis on players finding the fairway this week. You do, especially on the first few holes, okay, you do need to make sure you're finding the fairway or at least the rough because there are a few tree-lined areas. But as the course goes on, it doesn't really matter too much. What I'm looking for here are really good solid ball strikers with their irons. They can hit it left to right, right to left. Doesn't actually matter too much, but the idea around here is the fact that these players need to be finding the flat spots on the greens because they are the ones that will inevitably have the most birdie chances and probably score better than the remainder. As mentioned, if you're missing the greens around here, the up and downs can actually be quite tricky to execute. So I want good ball strikers with their irons and those that control their distances pretty well too because they're quite undulating greens here around at the Brabazon course. A lot of obviously big history around here too. It's of course hosted the British Masters previously, but it's also hosted the Ryder Cup on more than one occasion. And again, when you're watching it this week, you will see why it's a superb golf course. You really do need to be quite the complete player if you're going to be scoring well around here. Again, not necessarily off the tee, but you need to have a good short game and you really do need to be a good ball striker consistently with your irons. It'll be interesting to see, of course, what players decide to do on the famous 10th hole. It is 319 yards long. You can carry this if you go for it off the tee with a driver, sometimes with a 3-wood when it's downwind. However, you do have the stream to the left, and then you've got 2 quite large bunkers just to the right side of the green as well. Now, the other option, instead of hitting driver off the tee here, players can hit a 6-iron or a 5-iron down and then just have a flick in with the wedge. And I suppose, depending on where they are in the field, how well the round is going may determine that outcome. But hitting an iron off the tee, there's no worry at all. They're only going to have a flick in with a wedge, and hopefully that will then give them the birdie opportunity. But again, not a massive concern. It's just a very important hole, a signature hole at the Belfry. The main emphasis here is you want a good ball striker. So if we take a look at my first selection, I'm using Betfred this week. They are, of course, the sponsors to this week's tournament, but they're offering 10 places at 5th of the odds. Now, my number one selection for this week is actually a player that has won for us before. He won the Italian Open a couple of months ago. Seriously good ball striker, again, particularly with his irons, and that's Guido Migliozzi at 30-1. He's currently the world number 127, and he did lose his way for a little while, but he was finding his game much more in recent weeks, and again his game just suits here really nicely. Not too wayward off the tee, again, not that it matters too much here, but with his irons he's seriously good. He can hit a left to right shot, he can hit a right to left as well, and again he's quite good at controlling his shot shape and trajectory and his distance. So again, if you're looking at his iron play in particular, he actually suits this course really nicely too. Now, of course, to win any golf tournament, you do need a player to be using their flat stick well, making plenty of putts. He can be quite hit and miss in this area. However, when he is playing well, he's a very sort of confident sort of player. When his game's going well, he generally puts well along with it too. So again, I'm hoping that Guido Migliotti hits his irons well this week, because he will be the one that's finding a lot of flat spots around here, inevitably giving him a lot of birdie opportunities. And again, when his confidence is high, he generally rocks that putter quite well too. What I like about Guido as well is if he is in contention in the final round, he does have a left to right stock shot to go to, just to make sure that he isn't missing many of the greens. And this is something that I put quite a lot of emphasis on and have done in previous tournaments for other players. Jordan Smith's quite a prime example of this. He doesn't probably win enough. He's a really good ball striker. However, in the final round, with a golf swing that's based on timing, he does seem to get a little bit tense and then misses too many greens, inevitably ruining his chances of actually winning a tournament. He has won the Ras Al Khaimah previously, but he doesn't have himself a stock shot, which is seemingly required if you go through all of the events this year. Golfers that hit a draw, for instance, will then go to a stock shot fade in the final round just to make sure they're hitting greens and then take their chances with the flat stick from there. But Guido Migliotti, he hits it left to right, right to left. But if he needs that stock shot, he has a nice soft fade with his irons. And again, they will be the ones finding the greens and shouldn't be too far wrong. So providing Guido turns up in good form this week, which I'm hoping he will, of course, because that's what you've got to base your players on, I think he's going to have a really good chance at this week's event. So here's my number one selection in this week's tournament. Now, I have actually got a full squad lined up here. A couple of big prices at 125 to 1 as well, which you can find in my group chat. But for my second selection, I'm just going to bring him up now. We have Richard Mansell at 28 to 1. Now, Richard's actually a player that I know very well. I used to play with him on the Jamaica Tour. I played with him on the Euro Pro as well. And he has actually taken to the DP World Tour in pretty good style. He looks like a player that's not going to be too far away. Again, he does need to bring his A game, but he's a really good ball striker. He's actually very good off the tee too, but again, his main asset is he's seriously good with his irons. He's currently up to world number 134, and rightly so. He's progressing and seemingly starting to feel more comfortable in the deeper end of tournaments and seemingly quite comfortable in big events too. So it's not a worry at all that he comes here without a DP World Tour win. It's only his first real season with a full tour card, and I expect him to go quite well this week. Again, he's another like Guido. When he's hitting the ball well from tee to green, he does seem to be quite confident with his putter. And again, he should be able to have plenty of opportunities for birdie this week. He is only 33 to 1 with Betfred. You may usually want slightly bigger odds for a player that hasn't won on tour before, but again, he's obviously trended in the right direction. The bookies are a little bit afraid of that, so 33 to 1 is the price for him this week. He has a lot of actual good course experience around here too. We played a lot here when we were amateurs as well, and he doesn't live too far away. Plenty of golf here. He did his PJ here. And again, British golfers, especially the amateurs going through Jamaica Tour, Euro Pro, and on to Challenge Tour, have a lot of experience here at the Belfry. So he knows his way around. He should feel quite comfortable. And again, providing he comes here hitting his irons well, I see no reason why he can't contend very, very well this week as well. Right, so they're my two main selections. Guido Migliotti at 30 to 1 and then Richard Mansell at 33 to 1. And what I'm going to do actually is give you a list here of long shots that have a chance at outplaying their odds. Now, I'm not suggesting that you back all of these, but when I was creating my long list for this event, it was a very, very long list. I've, of course, narrowed it down to a squad of 5. And again, if you want my full squad, you can come check that out using the link in the description below. But just a list of players that could go well at big prices, I just thought would be worth mentioning nonetheless. So, David Micheluzzi at 125 to 1. A maiden on tour, hits it a mile off the tee. Seemingly finding himself at the deep end of these tournaments lately, going really, really nicely. And at 125 to 1, he could play well. We've then got Yannick De Bruyne at 200 to 1. Another player seemingly going in the right direction, finding himself very comfortable on at the DP World Tour and shooting some pretty low scores as well. He's chucking in the odds 75, which obviously isn't going to be ideal, but he's starting to limit some damage as well in his game, and he's able to shoot some low scores, so it brings him into contention here too. Jack Davidson at 250 to 1, the Welsh player. He's another that could well outplay his odds. Marcus Armitage, 225 to 1. He's got a lot of course experience around here. Lucas Bjerregaard at 100 to 1. Now, he was very, very close to making my squad this week. He actually finished tied second, I think it was, last week in the Danish. And prior to that, he had 3 top 10s on the Challenge Tour. You got Dan Brown at 110 to 1. Now, Dan Brown's an interesting player here because he's got some very good course form. However, he was actually in really good contention not too long ago in the British Open. Didn't quite come off for him in the final round, and people seemingly thought, well, that may be his big opportunity to win an event this year. But sometimes these sort of players then crop up. I like his attitude. I think he could go well again here. But my main 2 selections, as mentioned, Guido Migliotti at 30 to 1 and Richard Mansell at 33 to 1. But they're just a couple of long shots that I think can outplay their odds as well, but not suggested bets. Just ones to keep an eye on. Might give you a bit of clarity if you've looked at them yourselves. Okay, so that's it for this week's episode. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Again, if you can subscribe, which is completely free, I'd be really appreciative. It's just below this video. And there's some free bets courtesy of Betfred below. And also, if you'd like to come and join my members group of over 500 members, you can with the link in the description below. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll see you all real soon, and good luck this week with your bets.